Pat Morita. You won't believe what almost didn't happen. The heart of the Karate Kid, the quiet mentor who taught balance in life, very nearly never existed. Near the end of his life, Pat Morita finally told the story. Behind the famous crane kick and calm wisdom was a fight most people never saw. Not a fight with fists, but with gatekeepers, doubt, and a casting wall that said, no. What truth did he carry all those years, and why did he wait to tell it? Buckle up, because once you hear it, you'll never watch Mr. Miyagi the same way again. Everyone remembers Mr. Miyagi. The clipped words, the gentle eyes, the way a few quiet lines could land harder than any punch. But long before that magic hit the screen, Pat Morita was known as a comedian, TV spots, one-liners, a fast, polished voice. To some powerful people, that resume screamed lightweight. When his name came up for Miyagi, the producer Jerry Weintraub shot it down, again and again. He didn't want a comic. He wanted gravitas. Doors closed, lists changed, weeks passed, and Pat Morita wasn't even allowed in the room. Then, one person refused to accept that answer. John Avildsen, the director who knew how to turn underdogs into legends, kept pushing. He believed the movie wasn't just about tournament fights. It was about a bond mentor and student, father and son. He wanted to see everyone. That meant Pat Morita too. At last, Morita got a slot as the very last guy to read. If you've ever been counted out, you know that feeling. You show up anyway. Here's the twist of fate that changed everything. In the early 80 seconds, Pat Morita's career had gone quiet. He was in Hawaii, doing odd jobs, emceeing events, writing ad copy, working clubs, just keeping the lights on. He let his hair and beard grow for the first time in his life. Not for a part, just because. That scruffy beard made him look older, weathered, like a man who'd seen things. Without meaning to, he'd found a look that whispered, "Sensei." Then, on a day he was about to walk away from Los Angeles, his agent yelled from down the hall, "Pat, get back here!" A script had just come in. The title? The Karate Kid. When Pat Morita walked into the audition, he expected a crowd of judges. Instead, there was one man and a camera strapped to his body. John Avildsen was filming everything himself. No desk, no distance, just lens to face truth. "Tell me about yourself," he said. So Morita didn't perform. He talked. About life. About ups and downs. About who he really was. Then, he picked up pieces of the script and improvised, letting the emotion come through without costumes or sets. When he finished and started to leave, Avildsen called out, "Pat, don't you want to take your script? You might need it." That one line hit like lightning. For the first time, Morita knew he'd cracked the wall. But Hollywood never gives up a fight that easily. The tape convinced the director. It even stunned doubters when John Avildsen later played it in a meeting. Jerry Weintraub, the same man who kept saying no, pointed at the screen and said, "That looks like Miyagi." Avildsen answered, calm as a monk, "That's Pat Morita, the guy you refuse to read." Still, the studio wanted proof on top of proof. So began the gauntlet. 5 separate tests. Test 1 and 2. Could Pat Morita repeat the magic from that tape? He did quiet authority. Real pain under calm words. Humor without making the man a joke. Test 3. Chemistry with Ralph Macchio. If Daniel and Mr. Miyagi didn't feel like a true bond, the whole movie would fall apart. They read. They listened. They left space for each other. Something gentle clicked, like a kid finally finding the parent he'd been missing, and a mentor discovering he still had something precious to give. Test 4 added costumes. With the simple G and that beard, Pat Morita didn't play Miyagi. He became him. Even Ralph Macchio later said the transformation was startling. The 5th and final test was the toughest. An empty soundstage, no props, no safety net, Just two actors and a camera. What came out felt effortless. Daniel searching, Mr. Miyagi guiding. When the camera stopped, the room didn't clap. It just went quiet. The kind of quiet that means everybody felt it. Then came the phone call. Jerry Weintraub called Pat Morita himself. "Pat," he said, voice softer than usual. "I almost made the worst mistake of my life. Congratulations, you're our Miyagi." Imagine hearing that from the man who'd blocked you at every turn. Morita didn't gloat. He just took a breath and accepted. He knew this role was bigger than his career. It was a chance to give the world a character with dignity, one who'd outlast the trends and the noise. Winning the part was one battle. The next was the voice. Pat Morita understood the danger. Play it too broad, and it becomes a stereotype. Make it too smooth, and it isn't true to Miyagi's life. Ironically, the solution came from exhaustion. During those early reads, he was worn out. His words naturally slowed. Phrases came out clipped, careful like a man choosing each word with respect. John Avildsen heard it and leaned in. Morita refined it into a rhythm that felt honest, broken English that wasn't a punchline, but poetry. That's why lines like "man who catch fly with chopstick accomplish anything" land like quiet wisdom, not a gag. Off camera, fans were shocked when they heard Morita's real voice polished, quick, effortlessly witty. That contrast is the point. What you heard in Mr. Miyagi was crafted, intentional, art. There were moments on set that Pat Morita never forgot. The drunk Miyagi scene almost got cut. Some worried it would make the mentor look weak. Morita fought for it. He poured everything into that night shoot. The grief of a man who'd lost his wife and child. The weight of history. The ache that silence can't carry alone. When they wrapped, nobody spoke. The crew just let him have the silence. He proved, even to the last doubters, that he wasn't the comic from TV. He was an actor who could break your heart with a whisper. He loved the small human beats too. The fly and chopsticks scene? On paper, a simple gag. On screen, Pat Morita played it with calm focus and a little spark of mischief. When Daniel gets it first, the laugh between them feels real because it was. Off-set, Ralph Macchio was still a teenager dealing with sudden fame. Pat Morita watched out for him not as a co-star, but as a kind of guardian. Years later, Ralph would say their relationship was the true heart of the movie. You can feel that in every shared look, every pause between words. If this changed how you see that story, do me a favor. Drop your favorite Mr. Miyagi moment in the comments. Which line still lives in your head? And if you love hearing the real stories, actors only told years later, hit like, tap, subscribe, and stick around. The next video on your screen reveals another truth from a set where the biggest battles never made it into the script.